First story. Entitled OP Deleted Their Son's Minecraft World. I have 2 children, a 9-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. My son had a Minecraft world where he built quite an impressive castle on an island, which he was very proud to show to me. Since school was cancelled, he has had issues waking up on time. He is supposed to wake up at 7 each morning, but for the past month he has been sleeping in until about 9 or 10. I always set an alarm for him, but he sleeps right through it. I don't wake him up because waking himself up is a skill that he needs to learn. I told him about 2 weeks ago that there were going to be consequences for him if he continued to sleep every morning. At first, he understood and was waking up on time every morning, but for the past week or so, he has fallen back into old habits. I told him yesterday that this was his final warning. Today, he slept in until 11. So I followed through with my warning, went on the computer, and deleted his favorite Minecraft world. I also took away computer privileges for the next month. When I told him, he started screaming and crying. He told me that he spent a whole year working on that world, and he's very distraught that he's never going to see it again. He has been crying and sobbing throughout the day, and he has refused to eat any of his meals. Judgment. Arsehole. Second story. OP grounded her daughter after she got bullied at school because of her aunt. My daughter, 14 years old, posted a picture of a family get-together on social media. A boy from school recognized her aunt from an adult film and messaged my daughter about it. I believe he sent a video to her as well. Before this, she had no idea her aunt was in the industry. It appears that the boy spread this around the school, and my daughter is being teased for it. I notified the school, and they are looking into it and will plan to educate the students about sexism online. My husband and I are respectful and non-judgmental of my sister's profession and have tried to teach these values to our children. My daughter is understandably upset, and I feel for her, but she is directing all her anger and blame towards her aunt. She unfriended my sister on social media and removed all traces of her from her profiles. She refuses to join us for weekly dinners at my sister's house, and when they come over, she ignores them and just sits in her room playing Minecraft. I tried talking to her about tolerance, shame, and ageism, but she is dismissive of all of it. My sister is hurt from all of this. Not only did she have her privacy invaded, but she also lost a good relationship with her niece. Last weekend, I went upstairs to my daughter's room to try and talk to her and get her to join us downstairs. My daughter refused and referred to my Sil as a vapid SLT and her husband as a pathetic Kirk, along with other slurs I don't want to repeat. I grounded her for 3 months and took away her internet. My husband definitely thinks that she should be punished for using that language, but that's too much. He also admitted that he struggled to accept his sister's career path at first. He thinks she just needs space and will come around eventually because her aunt is family. Edit. It seems like my husband is right, and I went too far with the punishment. I just never imagined those hurtful words coming from her mouth. I'm going to scale it back to 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. I will decide with my husband later. We're definitely concerned for our daughter about what's happening at school, and we're looking into therapy. For clarification, as for my sister's privacy, she didn't consent to having her real name revealed to the world, or having her films and personal information passed around by 14-year-old boys. Judgment. Arsehole. Third story. OP thinks he and his wife are both pregnant, just because he works more hours than her. I know this sounds bad, but hear me out. I'm using a throwaway because my wife uses Reddit, so please don't upvote this. I just want honest feedback. My wife, 29F, and I, 27M, do well financially, so we decided to have our 4th child. Every single pregnancy we've been through with my wife has been a complete nightmare. Some things I can deal with, like waking up to the sound of her puking her guts out every morning. But when she starts demanding I go to the store every day to get her snacks or set up her foot bath thingy because her feet are swollen, I get a little impatient. I work way longer hours than her in a much more physically demanding profession. I'm a plumber. She's an engineer. So I think we're putting an equal amount of effort into this baby. And it's not like I don't help around the house either. She does all the cooking and dishes, but I do laundry, take out garbage, and mow the lawn. We pay someone to do the floors and bathrooms weekly. My Mill comes over to help with the kids because she says I'm useless. I've been meaning to make a just nominal post about her. And while I appreciate the help, I'm sick of her crap. Just because I want 1 hour of video games to myself a day instead of cleaning up messes in the kitchen doesn't mean I'm useless. This all came to mind yesterday when my wife screamed at me from the kitchen to get off my arse and entertain our twins so she could focus on her meatloaf. I made a dumb joke about how this is the third meatloaf we'll be eating this week, and she lost her SHT. She told me how I have no sympathy for the fact that she's pregnant. I should be taking on more of her chores since I can't breastfeed. But then I reminded her that I still work a lot more hours than her, so I think we're basically both pregnant. She got really quiet and has only spoken to me regarding the kids since. I don't think I'm wrong, but I'll apologize to her if it makes her happy. Ada here. Edit. My wife does get breaks, guys. I set up the annoying foot bath thing every night while she does dishes, and then she relaxes with it while watching YouTube every night while I put the kids to bed. She also won't eat my cooking because she grew up in Southeast Asia and doesn't like American food. It's not my fault she's picky. Edit 2. It's a Korean BBQ meatloaf she makes since some people pointed out meatloaf is typically American. Anyway, my wife found this post, and now she wants us to do couples counseling. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Judgment. Arsehole. Fourth story. OP told her friend that it's not her problem that she married a useless man. I 32F am a single mother of 2 kids 6M and 5M. I am a single mother by choice. My kids are donor conceived. I am lucky enough to have a good job, a French teacher in a private school, and a paid-off house, parents, life insurance, and inheritance. Before I had either of my kids, I made sure to have a year's living expenses saved. Then I would take a sabbatical to recover from birth, as well as bond with my kids. While on sabbatical, I still tutor some kids for some extra income. My friend 34F just had a baby 2 months ago. She is the breadwinner in her household, and her husband has been unemployed since he was laid off during COVID. It was great to be pregnant at the same time, as well as having a friend with a newborn. But it has turned sour. She has been saying how jealous she is of me being able to take off a whole year from work. How she would have loved to not worry about losing their home. How she doesn't even have a couple $100s in her savings account, let alone a whole year's worth of living expenses. I usually ignore it or brush it off because I can kind of understand the stress she is under. Well, starting about 10 days ago, she started hinting at not being able to afford daycare, and any mention of her husband taking care of their kid is brushed off. Then she started remarking on how much free time I must have, which I deflected by saying, truthfully, that being a single mom to a baby and a small kid left me no free time at all. Then last night she came out with it and asked if I could do her a favor and watch her kid while she's at work. I was firm, but polite, when I said that I couldn't and that I was not capable of watching 2 kids under 6 months. She started almost begging me, saying she can't afford daycare, and if she is not back at work, she will lose her job, and they will end up homeless. I again brought up her husband, and she said that he was not good with kids and wasn't capable of taking care of her kid. I kept saying no, and she kept pushing, until it escalated to her calling me heartless, and me telling her that it's not my problem that she chose to have a kid with a useless man. Now that she blocked me, I am feeling very guilty about what I said, and like an judgment, not the a-hole. Fifth story. OP doesn't want her daughter to get the surgery she inherited from OP because OP is scared of hospitals. Throwaway because some of my family use Reddit. Hi, all. I F30 have been dealing with chronic medical issues all my life. I married my 33 husband, L, a few years ago, and had my daughter, A, soon after. When I was pregnant with A, I was warned that it would be difficult due to my issues, and that she would likely have some passed on from me. I accepted this, and I expected it. She was delivered, and was a beautiful baby girl who didn't have my issues at the time. However, as she got older, it became more apparent that she had inherited my medical problems, one of which has an optional surgery that could negate it entirely. It's possible to live with it instead of choosing to operate, but the surgery will eliminate it. I have some trauma with hospitals in general. I've had to be in and out of them my entire life, and it's left some deep wounds. It's awful to spend your formative years stuck in a sterile room with an IV and in pain. I've spent some time in therapy for it, but I still hate it. The surgery that would remove the problem is covered by insurance, so money isn't a problem. However, it has a long recovery period, and I don't want my daughter to have to suffer through that. I've told Elle that I don't want her to have to go through the lengthy process of recovery. He disagrees and has asked my family members to knock some sense into me. His words, not mine. It's become a big point of contention between us, and I refuse to budge. So, Ada. Edit. For those who want to know, she has radial synostosis in both arms. She'd have to spend weeks in casts with both arms. Edit 2. You are right. I was letting my own fear cloud my judgment. Thank you. Although it is a bit rude to say that I should get sterilized. No. Edit 3. While I understand that I was undoubtedly tat here, it's disgusting how many people have written horrible comments, sent messages, and just been total jerks. You do not know me. I don't know you. This is one moment in my and your lives, and I sincerely don't understand why you have to be so nasty about it. No, I will not sterilize myself. I will not kill myself, give up my child, or divorce my husband. I will not categorize myself as an abusive, narcissistic sadist who hates my child and wants her to suffer like I have. I don't appreciate being psychoanalyzed by armchair psychiatrist Redditors. To those who have respectfully put down their points, sent me kind messages, or just been supportive, I appreciate you all. Judgment. Arsehole. 6th story. OP doesn't want her husband to walk his sister down the aisle. My husband, Mike 37, is the eldest in his family. He's pretty close with his sister Beth 28, and they spend almost all week together. Beth had issues with her father growing up. She made no contact with him after he took her first car and damaged it. She only remained in contact with Mike since everybody else judged her for going without contact. She's getting married to her fiancé of 3 years. From what I understand, she and her dad are slowly getting closer. But she made it clear she wants him to take no part in the wedding. She asked Mike if he could walk her down the aisle, and he agreed. I have to say that I was taken aback, and it felt a bit odd for me because her dad is alive. They're on speaking terms again, and he's going to be there at the wedding, so the logical thing to do is have him walk her down the aisle. This role isn't for her older brother, but for her father, not to mention how Phil will feel about it. I brought this up with Beth, and she had an attitude and implied that I was just saying this and objecting because of how I feel about the situation, and not how our traditions should be practiced. We got into an argument, and I went home. Mike thinks I'm being unreasonable and possibly causing him to miss something so sentimental. And if anything, he feels honored to be asked to do this for her. He said that I should stop worrying about what others might say. Now we're having this conflict, 3 of us, and cannot seem to reach a solution. Judgment. Arsehole. 7th story. OP invited all girls from her daughter's class, excluding one girl. My 36F daughter's 13F birthday was last weekend. There's this trampoline park in town that offers sleepover parties where the kids could play for a few hours, watch a movie, and have a sleepover on the trampolines. Her school is very small, so there are only 20 students in her entire year. When we were booking the event, she said to only book 19 places. I asked her if she was sure she wasn't missing someone, but she assured me there were only 19 kids in her class, and I was just misremembering. Fast forward to her birthday, and this girl, Camilla, shows up with an entire box full of gifts: teddy bears, perfume, candles, nail polish, flowers, chocolates, etc. I remembered picking her up from school at the beginning of the school year and seeing her chatting and being very friendly with Camilla, so I assumed they were quite good friends. When Camilla went up to hug my daughter and wish her a happy birthday, she lightly pushed her away and told Camilla she couldn't attend as we forgot to book her place. I apologized to Camilla and her mother and offered to talk to the people in charge and pay for her place. But my daughter insisted that Camilla couldn't come. Camilla was very distraught over this and started sobbing. I pulled my daughter aside and asked her why Camilla couldn't join, even though they used to be friendly, and she'd invited every other student in her year. She said that Camilla was just really weird, obsessive, and creepy, and she didn't want to be friends with her anymore. I asked her if Camilla was bullying her, and she said no. She just didn't want to be around Camilla. Camilla's mother had found out about the party through another parent, and Camilla decided to surprise my daughter, knowing she hadn't been given an invite. I returned the gifts to Camilla, apologized again, and gently told her that there weren't enough spaces. Her mother started screaming at me, telling me that I was a grown adult woman bullying a preteen girl. I told her that it was my daughter's birthday party, and she could invite whoever she wanted. She accused me of raising my daughter to be a bully, and that she couldn't just invite the entire class and exclude one girl. She claimed that Camilla was my daughter's best friend, and she had the right to be invited. I told her that my daughter's a teenager, not a 5-year-old, and she can't be forced to invite the entire class just to be nice. I said that I didn't want to raise a doormat. I didn't want to teach her to value the feelings of others at the expense of her own. If my daughter feels uncomfortable around someone, then I prioritize her well-being over that of a stranger's. Camilla's mother is now talking to the teachers to punish my daughter for bullying. I've tried explaining to her that my daughter was simply setting her boundaries. She shouldn't have to face consequences for that. Camilla's mother said that I was an evil BTCH who took joy in bullying little girls. Ada. Judgment. Arsehole. 8th story. OP uninvited her friend's husband because he eats too much. My friend has been married for a year now to her firefighter husband. She is the only one in the friend group who is married. I usually host dinners every couple of months, and we are going to do a late one for the holidays on Friday. I usually invite him, but money has gotten tight due to the holidays, and he eats so much. I understand why, but it always results in me having to double recipes or running out of food. So this time I told everyone that I wanted to just do a girls' night. This means my friend's husband is not invited. If he isn't there, there is enough food for everyone without double recipes. She called me up, asking why I was doing a girls' night. I told her the truth. I can't afford to make double for dinner, and her husband eats a lot. She called me off, and now she is telling my friends why. Everyone is split, and no one is offering to help with the food bill. Edit. I will give the group the option to give me some money or change it to a potluck. Never mind. I will be canceling it. I'll get off Reddit, so my last response. Judgment. Arsehole. 9th story. OP refused to apologize to a guy he used to bully. I 22 am not a bully. I had friends growing up who were bullied. I saw how bad it could be for someone, and I never wanted to be the cause of that. I'll try to portray the incident as best I can. I was visiting my parents and went into town to run a few errands. In town, I was approached by a man I didn't recognize. He was initially friendly and greeted me with, "Hey, are you my name?" Me. "Yeah, I am." "Do we know each other?" "Drew." "I'm Drew Smith. We used to go to school together." Despite him saying otherwise, I couldn't recall anyone by that name. I responded, "Hey, I'm really sorry, man, but I don't think I recognize you at all." I then started chuckling a bit out of embarrassment, since I didn't know how else to react. I guess Drew didn't like that very much since his whole demeanor changed pretty quickly. He then asked me much more coldly, "Oh, then I guess you also don't remember how you used to treat me like SHT when we were kids, huh?" That completely caught me off guard, and I couldn't respond with anything besides a confused, "What?" Drew then started going off on me, claiming that I would purposefully exclude him when we were kids. I had convinced others to do the same, and teachers had to forcefully assign him during group projects because no one would willingly accept him. No one would play with him during recess or after school, so he had no friends growing up, and it was all my fault. I was utterly shocked and denied it, stating I had never done that because I hadn't. This just made him madder, and he started accusing more loudly, saying things like, "Yes, you effing did," and "Why don't you just effing admit it already and just apologize?" By this point, we were getting people's attention, and I was afraid someone would call the cops. I decided to leave, but felt like I needed to get a jab in and said, "Look, man, I'm sorry school was so SHDTY for you, but if you were anything like you are now, you probably deserved it." In hindsight, I really should have just walked away, but I was getting angry myself, and it felt good at the moment. Drew started yelling after me even louder, but luckily he didn't try to follow me. When I got to my parents' home, I told them what had happened. They were surprised about the whole exchange too, and they couldn't recall any friend of mine named Drew either. My mom then started teasing me a bit, saying I've always been pretty reserved, and if I was ever a DCK to someone, they probably had it coming. Despite the reassurance, I can't help but feel kind of guilty about the whole exchange. Drew was absolutely convinced that I was his childhood bully for some reason, despite my not remembering him at all. Seeing how worked up about it he got, should I have just pretended to apologize or something? It seemed to me like it would have at least avoided that whole fiasco, even if I'm sure I had nothing to do with it. Was I the arsehole in how I handled the situation? Edit. I was asked by some users to include that Drew never mentioned the school we went to together, just that we were classmates. Also, he only got my middle name right, not first or last. I haven't gone by my middle name since I was 6 or 7. Edit 2. Another user, Uprevious Comedian 4263, brought up kindergarten in an offhand way, and it made me realize I do know Drew. We met in kindergarten, where we initially started off as friends. I was also friends with a girl by the name of Alex. She also happened to be Drew's cousin. A few months into the year, he started being a total SHT head towards her, such as pulling her hair or trying to touch her to annoy her. I stopped being friends with him almost immediately, and had nothing to do with him. The teacher tried to get me to be friends with him again, but I played up a language barrier between us to make her think I didn't understand her. She eventually dropped it. Other kids started doing the same because Drew started throwing massive, screaming tantrums whenever he didn't get his way. Eventually, no one wanted to be friends with him anymore, and he was pulled from the class. That's why he only got my middle name right, because I started going by a new name the next year. I can't believe this all started over something I did as a 5-year-old. Edit. Hey, thanks a lot to everyone for the judgments. It gave me a lot to think about. Ultimately, I think I'm going to agree with the Ash comments. Drew shouldn't have yelled at me like that, but I could have easily handled it way better than I did. Especially as I had the chance to make a clean break, but instead chose to get my hands bloody with my last comment. There's no right circumstance to ever say someone deserves to be bullied. I apologize to anyone I may have offended with my last comment or what it could be taken to imply. I think I'm going to sleep on it a little further. Not really sure how to feel about the memories the whole thing brought up. Judgment. Not the whole. 10th story. OP agreed to reconcile with his estranged father to get his mom's bracelet his father stole. Now sister is pissed and father is disappointed. My dad and I 25 aren't close, and I was never interested in having a relationship with him. He was the type of guy who was out all the time with his friends and never home. My mom divorced him when I was 12, and it got ugly. Sometime during the divorce, we came home and stuff was missing. Not his stuff, by the way, because that was cleaned out when he left. One of the things missing was my mom's bracelet, which she kept in a small box under some stuff in the closet. This bracelet was super special to her. Her parents were toxic, but my mom was really close to her English teacher mentor in high school, who was like a mom to her. Her teacher gave her that bracelet at her high school graduation, and my mom kept it all these years. My dad knew she treasured it, and who else would look in that specific place to take only a bracelet when there was other stuff in the house? She knew it was him too, but he always played dumb. The divorce was finalized, and we didn't see my dad after that. My mom never got it back. Last June, she got COVID and didn't make it. I was broken over that, and I still am, I guess. I am glad that at least me, my sister, and my stepdad have each other for support. Around October, my sister told me dad wanted to talk to me, so she gave him my number. He apologized for being a SHT head dad and asked if we could meet to talk at his place. I was ready to straight up say no, but then I remembered he stole her bracelet, and maybe this was a chance to get it back. I've asked my sister before to push him about it since they talked, but she only asked him once and left it at that. I decided I could handle one visit just to see if he had it, so I told him I'd hear him out. So yeah, I met at his place. We caught up on stuff, and he told me his sorry story about being immature and too focused on stuff that wasn't more important than being a dad or whatever. I ended up bringing up the bracelet and how important that was to me since my mom is not here anymore. He still kept trying to act like it wasn't him until I said the only way I'd consider having a father-son relationship was if he just stopped with that and gave me my mom's bracelet. He finally gave in, and thank God he actually kept it instead of throwing it out. He apologized for taking it and knew it was being super childish. I was just happy to have it back, but I was mad that my mom didn't get it before she died. I never guaranteed my dad a relationship. I just said I'd consider it. But I already made up my mind that I don't want anything with him. It's been months since our meeting here, and my sister is pissed because my dad is disappointed I haven't talked to him. She says I was a huge piece of SHT for making him think we'd reconcile. My only goal was to get the bracelet back, and I wouldn't have talked to him in the first place if it weren't for that. So that's why I wonder if My sister is biased here, since she was little when they split, and has a different version of him. Judgment. Not the whole. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.